Welcome to JoyNews Today. I am Emefa Akosia Adati. The bulletin is live from our studios here in Kokomlimle, Accra. It's also live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125. Top stories this hour. Dean of UCC School of Business School, Professor John Gachi, supports President-elect John Mahama's request to engage on the implementation of the Economic Recovery Plan, as it assures he will not cancel the program.
It is a standard practice that agreements of this nature have opportunity for renegotiation.
Now, NPP MPs take over the right-hand side of the Speaker with no NDC MP in sight, as First Deputy Speaker insists that this is the rightful place of his caucus. Also coming up in this bulletin is water shortage hits Greater Kumasi as Ghana Water Limited shuts operation in protest of demolished property. We've got this plus business, sports, showbiz and world news in this bulletin. Please stay for details. Many thanks for choosing us. First off, in our bulletin, Dean of UCC School of Business, Professor John Gachi, says a renegotiation of the IMF deal will help President-elect John Mahama's government better implement some of its policies. His call comes after President-elect John Mahama announced that he had requested a meeting with IMF to engage on the implementation of the bailout program. We'll hear from Professor Gachi shortly. But first, here is President-elect Mahama telling VOA that his government will not cancel the IMF program signed on by his predecessor.
The economy is going to be the number one focus because it affects everything else. If the economy is in a bad way, it affects education, it affects agriculture, it affects sports, it affects every sector of the country. So we're going to have to be dealing with stabilizing the economy. Unfortunately, in this circumstance, we have two major issues. One, macroeconomic stability, and two, debt sustainability. In all the other times that we've gone to the IMF, it's just been for macroeconomic stability, but we have twin problems now. And so we're going to continue the IMF program. We already have requested some discussion with the IMF because we're not part of the negotiation of this program. And so we need to look at how we can all be on the same wavelength in terms of implementing the program. We're not going to jettison the program. I want to make that clear. We're not jettisoning the program. But within the program, I'm sure that there can be some leverage for tweaking it. And so if we're able to reach that agreement, then we'll continue the program till it ends. What it means is that the budgets must align with the IMF program. So there's not much leverage in there for making the kind of radical reforms that you might immediately need to make. But we would accept the reforms that are being made under the IMF and deepen them when we have our own program after the current extended credit facility runs out.
We can now hear from Dean of UCC School of Business, Professor John Gachi.
It is a standard practice that agreements of this nature have opportunity for renegotiation. We have seen that done by the NPP. That was why they were able to roll out their programs, even though we are under IMF program. That was the reason why they are able to extend to another 1 year. So John Mahama has a set of policies to implement, and some of them, to implement them, you need to have some adjustment in the program. And that is exactly what he has started engaging the IMF with. And it's not anything strange.
President-elect says despite President Akufo-Addo's optimism about Ghana's economic performance, particularly the reported growth in the third quarter, the economy remains very sick. Speaking after members of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council paid a courtesy call on him, he expressed concerns about the state of government in the Electricity Company of Ghana, stating that ECG is suffering from commercial and technical losses, accounting or amounting to 32%, of which he believes is unsustainable. Now, let's speak to Maxwell, my colleague who's been following the transition team since it was inaugurated, and bring us reports from the president-elect and what he said. Maxwell, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. What more can you report?
Well, the president-elect, John Mahama, has been receiving various delegations at his campaign office in Cantonment. Now, the first to visit today, as you rightly mentioned, was the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, led by Apostle Eric Namiche. Now, John Mahama, in his address, said the priority for the incoming government is to revive the economy, rationalize taxes, and ensure the youth are employed. He says that it's important to ensure a viable. He says it is important to ensure a viable private sector, so government gives them the needed assistance. John Mahama also promised a government advisory council will be established, to carry out annual assessment on the state of affairs of the country in various areas like the economy, human rights, and more, which he says will give the government a sense of direction of where the government is going. Now, one of the things he says he will do also is to take a relook at the work of the Constitutional Review Committee, which he says the NDC will hold a national validation conference and take a second look at things that they flagged in the past. He says, for example, the role of the Speaker must be clearly stated. So the impasse between the Speaker and the Supreme Court, which, we saw in recent times would not, happen again. These and many other things he's been discussing with the various delegations that have visited. There's still another delegation that's with him, having discussions with him right now at the cantonment office.
We'll definitely come to you when that delegation's leave or when everything is also over with him, and then you bring us updates on that delegation that visited the president-elect. Now, let's move right now to the Ashanti region, where a tense standoff unfolded at the Suffolk Line bus terminal in Kumasi as commercial drivers resisted an evacuation from the terminal despite being ordered to do so by unknown persons. A group of heavily built men whose identity is under investigation arrived at the terminal on Friday and ordered the drivers to vacate the premises. Now, but the drivers refused to oblige, demanding immediate government intervention. Nana Boachi Yadom has more in this report.
Individuals stormed the Sofolai bus terminal to demand the evacuation of transport operators, insisting that the terminal has been sold to a private developer. The standoff led to the closure of major parts of the terminal, including the passengers' lounge, causing a significant disruption to the transportation service that left passengers stranded. But the drivers resisted the lockup, demanding government's swift intervention. James Nkrumah is a driver at the Sofolai bus terminal. He expressed his frustration.
Ye nim ko fukro omonso aba de padlock aba betum so omon pren ma ye nya aduma ho ye ba na obi ani ho ntiama ye nso de one no masi kwaso antama no pai ye ho akire wa ha pa titiru passenger fo no ani adowa fo e wa ha ye sori gina say ye mpren e ma sa de ne nkoso.
Some unknown individuals locked up parts of the terminal this morning. We have suffered here, especially the drivers and our passengers. We will resist any attempt to take over our terminal.
Sa ban fa ne nansi for ma ha de obi anu ho ba ha ye be plama no amwa be gisa launch na free ensam nti yesre TV station mpanimfo wo o ma wemu aha ye baabi a passenger fo ne gi o ma home baabi a nsu oto a stations ni nyina nipa ne ba be salai wo twen obi no ma kema wo twen e beje nti aha de yesre se so obi babie mu na se oba se one be tobe wa ha aha de yan twem obi a wa ha sei.
Albert Kwesi Buama is chairman of the transport terminal.
Say yeba obi the padlocks abegu ye passenger lounge or passenger lounge. That lounge is one yen safo na bibia ewo ye watchman no. He say ye kwan kra de be fura call your office kra no ye nya bi. Nti ye be ndem. And I'm reporting my
The place they locked is where we keep our keys. I reported to the police earlier. Drivers needed access to their batteries, but they didn't get it because of the lockup. So we had to break the doors. This is an unfortunate situation.
It is drivers so bears 100 behind so from batteries. You see any battery ma. Now the best thing is say you force to say side padlock no. You be because some for unlawful way no the padlock no betum. Any court baby brain.
The transport operators want immediate steps taken to stop the sale of the terminal or revoke any sale. For Joy News, Nana Boachi Dankwayadom, Kumasi.
Still in the Ashanti region, head of emergency medicine directorate at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital, Dr. Chris Opon, has expressed worry over the high rate of young, experienced nurses leaving the facility. He says quality service delivery is adversely impacted when the experienced health professionals abandon their posts for greener pastures outside the country. There's more in the following report.
For 37 years, Mrs. Augustina Barbara Nkrumah dedicated her life to serving patients at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital. She's retiring as the Chief Nursing Officer at the Emergency Medicine Directorate of the hospital. Her colleagues celebrate her contribution to good service delivery. But Head of Directorate, Dr. Chris Opon, is worried a lot of young professionals and experienced nurses are traveling out of the country. He observed the young, experienced nurses to replace the retiring professionals are fast depleted.
One of the challenges that we face is the inexperienced nurses that we have to work with, because a lot of the experienced ones have traveled to the US, UK, and Canada to seek greener pastures. So the emergency nurses that we need to work with, we don't have them. And I'm sure Augustina Barbara Nkrumah is one of the few experienced emergency nurses that we have, who was holding the fort, both in academics. You know, we have the KNUST and the Ghana College of Nurses and Midwives. She's actually a lecturer there, and she was helping with the training, especially with the clinical aspect. So if such a person retires, we're going to have a huge deficit and a huge gap or hole that has to be filled. And it's not easy at all to fill such a gap when it comes to training and also the experience to work in an emergency department.
Mrs. Barbara Nkrumah urged the young nurses to uphold professionalism in their career for patients. The high attrition rate of health professionals has become a subject of public discussion in recent times. The government has been enjoined to institute measures to retain health professionals in the interest of patients. For Joy News, Nana Boachi Dankwayadom.
Now let's remain in the Ashanti region, where an acute water shortage has hit the greater Kumasi metropolis as residents struggle to access water following the withdrawal of services by service of water by the Ghana Water Limited. Now residents are expending productive hours in search of the commodity for their domestic and commercial chores. Emmanuel Bright-Kweku joins us with details. Emmanuel, thank you for joining us. What is the current update? I know that we've been following this story since 2022, and even up last week, we brought them some updates. What's currently happening today?
All right, so MFA, as we speak now, the Ghana Water Limited in the Ashanti region have suspended their strike in the last few days. That's starting from Friday up to today, this morning. There were no taps of water flowing through the taps of many residents in the Ashanti region. But as we speak now, they just finished a meeting, a crunch meeting with the board of directors for this particular company, and they have suspended their temporary strike. But they are warning that any attempts that these encroachers may have against them, again, they will be forced to shut down operations completely. We can take a listen to Engineer Dr. Hadisu Al-Hassan.
We had calls from the management of the company, chiefs, and other well-meaning Ghanaians about the toll this strike is taking on customers and the people of Asantima. So we decided to engage the union had a comprehensive conversation around this issue, and they decided to suspend the strike. Clearly, as our brother has indicated, the strike has been suspended pending a swift resolution of this matter. I wouldn't want to talk much, but what I want to say is that to the land encroachers, the message we have for them is that you can manipulate processes to acquire so-called documents. You cannot manipulate the minds of the workers of Ghana Water Limited. We are doing this standing by Ghanaians. These people are acquiring these things for their individual interest, but we are there for the interest of Asante-Man and the whole of Ghana. So whatever action we are taking here is in the interest of the people of Ghana. This extends to every part of Ghana. If anybody has any intention to take any land of Ghana Water Limited, we are giving indication that if any such action takes place, we will take the appropriate steps to take back our lands. Right now, going forward, those places that they've demolished, we expect that they go back to rebuild them as we have indicated. Yes. And if a if a piece of brick gets out of any of those property, we are shutting down immediately. Exactly. We love Ghanaians, we love the people of Asante-Man. We will serve the people of Asante-Man from now and forever, and we will take every action in their interest. When we have to take an action, they should know that we are taking it for their sake. Thank you very much.
Now, for years, the communities of Pelikope and Desiakope and the Wudokbo, all in the water region, have shared the same burden: no access to safe drinking water, with the nearest source often miles away. Residents have suffered for a while, or for some time, for waterborne diseases. But hope has finally flown into these villages thanks to the Rotary Club of the Accra West, and Tolok Michael Ashali has the rest of the story.
The 2022 Ghana Demographic and Health Survey reveals a stark reality. Nearly 1 in 5 Ghanaians lacked sufficient access to drinking water in the month before the survey. For 11% of the population, unsafe sources like surface water remain their only option, while 10% endure grueling journeys for over 30 minutes just to fetch water. In Pelikope, Volta region, residents walk for hours, not for clean water, but for any water at all. Moses Akpovi, a resident of the Pelikope community for over 30 years, recounts how search for water often takes them miles away, sometimes spanning 3 neighboring communities.
So our elders, they can see that how we are suffering from the water. We dig a well here about 27 years ago now. So we are affecting the water and the well knocked down.
The local assemblyman, Sachi Neiram, overwhelmed and running out of options, struggled to gain a response from government officials despite his relentless appeals.
I give it to MP, but nothing has shown. I give it to government institution, but still, I give it to MPs, whether MC to the same thing.
About 20 kilometers away, Dosiakope mirrors the struggles of Pelikope, a community burdened by the same unrelenting water crisis. Biedo Kennedy is the assemblyman for the area.
You know, the women suffered a lot, especially the pregnant women. The former source of water that we normally use, we get a lot of diseases from it.
These wells are a common thing in many of the homes. But even this is empty as at now. Farther north, the small farming community of Fudopo struggles as well. Millicent's children sometimes miss school because of the long trek to the nearest stream, a situation she fears could permanently derail their education.
By
the time they return from the stream, it's already time for break. This had affected my own education and now that of my children.
Residents of Pelikope, Dosiakope and Wodopo finally have clean water close to home thanks to the Rotary Clubs of Accra West and Telok with support from Meaningful Life International. Professor Kwame Akwa is the Director of Projects.
This project is in line with Rotary's WASH project, which is water, sanitation and hygiene, to go to villages where they have no water, to provide them with portable drinking water.
Each borehole, valued at $9,500, comes with a simple ask: an oath to maintain them.
So help me God.
Amen. They are calling on government to, as a matter of urgency, come and do some more development in the area. For JoyNews, Michael Ashale.
That must be quite exciting for the people of Dosiakope and Mudokope. Well, moving on, health officials in the Western region are implementing stringent measures to curb the rise of cholera in the area. 14 people have died so far, with more than 800 suspected cases. Health authorities believe mass vaccination and improved hygiene practices will stem the tide. Let's engage Ina Thalia on how the vaccination exercise is going. Ina, thank you for joining us. What's it like so far with the vaccination?
Yes, MFA. So this morning I've been to 3 hospitals here within the STMA. That is Kwesimintim, Efian Kwanta, and Takrade hospitals. Over there is a vaccination center and people are trooping in. And earlier on, we have told our viewers that this vaccination is for people from 1 year and above. Those who are not supposed to take this vaccination includes pregnant women and lactating mothers. So if you visit the various centers I have mentioned, plus other centers within the Western region, you would see that there is a center, a table made where people are taking in this vaccination. People are really trooping in because of how dicey the situation has come. I mean, a lot of people are recording cholera each and every day. And then there are others who are also moving into schools and then some public facilities like churches. So yeah, they started yesterday, and then a lot of health officials were in different churches to vaccinate church members. And then today they are going to schools and then the centers they have at the various health places that one can just visit and then take in the dose. One thing, MFA, we should also let our viewers know that this vaccination is not supposed to be taken home. You take the vaccination there and then they drop it in your mouth. You don't have any right to take it to your house. Is meant for anyone, and they say that if you've taken the vaccination, it doesn't mean that cholera is gone, but you have to take precautionary measures like constant washing of hands, eating food which is hot and not cold. You should also be mindful of your surroundings. So these are some of the precautions that health officials have put place in the Western region. But I should also say that the cholera is not going down. We are hoping that with this vaccination, it might go down. And then once you are vaccinated, you are given a card, just like during the COVID time.
Right.
Once you take a shot, it's written on a card and then handed over to you. So if you are an adult, you are given a card, and then so when you meet someone, you can just show the person your card that you've been vaccinated. And for the children, their ring finger they put an ink on their ring finger. And so that is what is happening in the Western region.
Well, I remember that last week you reported that there have been some ban on the sale of vegetables. How is it going so far?
Yes, MFA. So this ban continues. Once you are caught, unless you are lucky and you are not caught, but once you are caught, the law is implemented as it should be. And so that is ongoing. But MFA, I must say that one challenge that health officials are facing at the various health centers is relatives. Relatives come and they ask them not to go closer to these relatives who have been infected by the cholera, but they just don't understand. They feel that these are our relatives, we should go. I am told by health officials that there are cases, some of these relatives will go by or go close to their relatives, and then they come back to the health facility with the same infection. And so this has become a challenge, and they want people to stay away. You bring them, they will take care of them for you whilst you stay home.
Right. Thank you so much, Ina. So just take your family members who probably are suffering from cholera, and then you stay home. The health officials will take care of them. But now let's take you to Parliament next, where NPP MPs have become the first side to show up with Parliament reconvening after nearly 2 months of political deadlocks. Now, the caucus has taken over the right-hand side of the Speaker, a side the NDC colleagues took over in the last 2 meetings. Now, let's take you live to the House in Parliament, where my colleague Kweku Asante is standing by with more. Kweku, if you can hear me, what's the situation and whereabouts is the NDC group?
So the NDC MPs have started arriving. They've come in their numbers. Unlike previous sittings where there was a dispute as to the sitting arrangement, this time around, there are absolutely no disputes. The NPP MPs came in and took over the right-hand side of the Speaker, which is the majority side, while the NDC MPs just walked across the aisle and went to their minority side. You can see in your shot pretty shortly the Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin exchanging pleasantries. It's been a lot of pleasantries being exchanged because a lot of MPs have lost their seat, particularly on the NPP side, where nearly 40, or in fact more than 40 of their colleagues have so far lost their seat and will not be returning to the 9th Parliament, which will start on the midnight of the 7th of January 2025 next year, when the new Parliament will be sworn in. A lot of them coming in, a lot of the NDC MPs wearing white, obviously basking in this newfound majority that they will get when the new Parliament is sworn in next year. An overwhelming and emphatic majority, 2/3, at least so far, with the numbers set to climb up, with even some projecting up to 191 is due. So a number of them now coming in. You'll pretty shortly see Haruna Idrisu and a number of the MPs from the northern region. Farouk Aliu Mahama, who lost his seat, Member of Parliament also for Tamale Central, Habib Mutala Mohammed, Haruna Idrisu, Member of Parliament for Akachi South, Benjamin Ahiafo, Mahama Yariga. So a number of NDC and NPP MPs exchanging pleasantries, talking about what exactly might have happened during the election. This is the first time these MPs are getting to talk to each other to get to understand what might have gone on in their various constituencies. So it's pretty somber mood in Parliament today. There are absolutely no incidents like we recorded in the past where the NDC MPs took over the majority side, which prompted the NPP MPs to say they were not going to come to the floor. This time around, a number of them have come in. We were expecting that a number of these NPP MPs in particular who lost their seats were not going to come in this morning, but a number of them are here. Ejapa Mesa, Pochumberima, a number of them who lost their seats have already come in and are expected to come and help the government side transact business here. So that is the state of affairs here, with both sides now taking their seats, and we expect the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagwin, to walk in any moment from now, and then sitting will then start.
We'll bring you an update when the sitting starts. Now, we've been speaking with a former Member of Parliament for Tamale Central, who is also a former ranking member of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee of Parliament, Inusa Fuseni, and Executive Director, Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Ramani. Now, let's listen.
And the fact that the Parliament will be losing a lot of experienced hands in the 9th Parliament. But that is democracy for us. Many people will lose their seats if the constituencies do not vote them into office. And we don't appoint the people, we elect them. And so Parliament will have to look at the next Parliament and see which people to put in place who are really ready and willing to work to build their capacity to be able to step in for these people, to replace them. But clearly, serious senior people have lost their seats, and that will affect Parliament.
Both sides are still holding themselves up as majority. I mean, we've heard that over the past couple of days after the election outcome. So unless maybe some backroom negotiations, some political conversations have taken place, we are going to see both the NDC and the NPP staking a claim that they are majority. And if that should happen, and we are back to where we were a couple of weeks ago. And I could see a number of scenarios playing out. You know, either we'll see another walkout, in which case maybe the speaker would have to adjourn the House again, or we would see perhaps one side conceding and saying, look, Ghanaians have decided, we know where the chips have fallen now. Come January 7.
Well, the governing New Patriotic Party insists it won the parliamentary seat in some 8 constituencies, though some of them have been declared for the NDC. The party says it has evidence of their candidates winning in the said constituencies per their own collated results and available pink sheets. The party is asking the Electoral Commission to recollate these constituencies' results, which they believe they won. Let's cross over live to the headquarters, where my colleague Kenneth JC is standing by with more. Kenneth, please bring us updates. Which constituency has the party called for recollation, and what are their reasons? Hello, Ken, if you can hear me, kindly unmute. Kenneth, if you can hear...
It's been unmuted. I believe you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Yes, so talk about Aplekuma North, Okaikwe North, Ahapuano North, Ahapuano South East, Dome Kwabienya, Obuasi East, and a number of other constituencies in Sawem Adwajiri included. Now they say in all of these constituencies, they believe their collated results that their candidate, that's the New Patriotic Party parliamentary candidates in all these constituencies, emerged winners at these various constituency elections. But in some cases, they say that the NDC tried to intimidate them, and then in some cases also the Senate officers in some of these constituencies were forced to declare the NDC candidates as winners. And in Obuasi East, for instance, they say that the results for the NPP, which was 18,558 votes, and that of the NDC, which was a little below that figure, were swapped. So the result of the NPP candidate in Obuasi constituency has been given to the NDC candidate, and that of the NDC candidate has been given to the NPP candidate, because according to them, per their private collations that they did, they know and believe that their candidate won in all of these constituencies. Hence, their call on the Electoral Commission to recollate these results. And of course, one of the most contended ones is the Hawam Adwajiri, and then also the Dome Kwabienya seat, which they believe their candidates in the New Patriotic Party won.
Well, Kenneth, and so they're asking for recollation of some of the constituencies, and the others, are they asking to go for legal redress, or they're asking for recollation of all of the constituencies?
They say they are not going to go for legal redress now because the declaration has not been gazetted by the Electoral Commission, so it is not definite, it's not final. It is only becoming final if it has been gazetted by the Electoral Commission. That is when they might consider going to the court. But as it stands now, it hasn't been gazetted by the Electoral Commission, so no, going to court is not an option. You do recall that Pantiapa North constituency, for instance, was initially declared for the NDC parliamentary candidate, but it was later overturned by the Electoral Commission and given to the New Patriotic Party candidate in that particular constituency. So they are hoping that a similar incident will happen across all these constituencies they have raised concerns on. So now they are not going to court because it hasn't been gazetted yet. They are calling on the EC to recollate those results in those constituencies.
Well, thank you so much, Kenneth JC, for bringing us that report. And prior to this press briefing by the NPP, the Electoral Commission also indicated some constituencies that had been declared were quite illegal, and subsequently will bring you details of those. Of those stories as well. But you're watching JoyNews Today. We go for a quick break. We'll come back with business.
Hi, good afternoon and welcome to the business segment on Joy News Today with me, Pius Kojobaka. Business processing outsourcing company E-Services Africa Limited, ISAL, has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Center for the Employment of Disabled Persons to provide jobs for the disabled. The following report has more.
ISAL said it will train a selected number of the disabled to provide decent jobs to help sustain their livelihood. Speaking to Joy Business after signing the MOU, the Chief Operating Officer of ISAL, Emmanuel Kwano, said the company will continue to create work for disabled people.
ISAL over the period has been looking for a credible partner in providing jobs for persons with disabilities or differently abled people, and we are glad that today we are able to seal such partnership. We have a lot of job opportunities available for such persons with disabilities, and we are glad that we found a team that would help us get into this talent pool and make jobs available for them. As a BPO, we run 24-hour services, and the fact that we run 24-hour services requires that we need a lot more people, because for 3 shifts, you need people to run this operation.
On this part, the president of the Center for Employment of Disabled Persons, Alexander Tete, expressed gratitude to ISAL and outlined the impact the partnership will have on the disabled in the communities.
It's beautiful because it's going to open job opportunities for persons with disabilities. Disabled people will be able to work and be able to take care of themselves and take care of their families. So it's fantastic that we have in this partnership. We are an organization that recruits disabled people for companies, and so this is not a new thing, but this company seems to be a big one, a very big one, and that is why we are excited about it, because they have they partner with other organizations, other companies that also need people to work with, and they would ensure that persons with disabilities are part of their recruitment into those staff.
The Ghana Hotels Association says it will push the John Dramani Mahama administration to consolidate all taxes imposed on them. President of the association, Dr. Edward Akanyamike Jr., entreated the new government to address the needs of hoteliers to make it easier for the country to achieve its 1.2 million tourist target. He spoke to Joy Business at the opening of Manor Heights Hotel in the Central Region.
At the event, President of the Ghana Hotels Association, Dr. Edward Nyamike, stressed the need for teamwork and collaboration to push for mutually beneficial agendas to enhance a common goal.
The thing is that as an association, which is the Ghana Hotels Association, we had an input in the NPP's manifesto and an input in the NDC's manifesto, because we saw them as the 2 leading parties. One of them has been elected, so it means that it's been a win-win game for us. So we are going to hold NDC to their manifesto, because they met us. We made an input, and fortunately, they included it in the manifesto. So we are going to look forward to the implementation of every item in the manifesto. And if they do, we believe that it will take the tourism and hospitality industry to the next level.
Head of sales at Manor Heights Hotel commended stakeholders for their continuous efforts to push the sector forward.
We are rebranding in the way and approach we do things. The rebranding is focusing on adapting sustainable hospitality. Why this? This has become very significant in this era because we need it, in the sense that it helps organizations to really appreciate the other possibilities within the business frame.
Manor Heights Hotel is situated in the heart of the beautiful fancy city of Mankesim.
And that's all for business for now. I am Pius Kojo Baka. We have sports coming up shortly. Please do stay.
Time now to bring you sports here on JoyNews Today with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah, former Black Stars striker, Augustine Ahimfor. He has shied away from calling the Ghana Football Association to part company with head coach Otto Addo. According to him, the GFA should take responsibility for the failure of the Black Stars to qualify to the African Cup of Nations to be staged in Morocco next year.
I were that person, I would have gone. I've told you. Because there's, look, in our local power, I say that I know I didn't make the result sometimes is something else. So are you ready for it? Or you still think that you can stand up to it? That's up to you. Me, I would have gone.
You hired the chief executive officer for a handful group of companies. Within 6 months, he runs down the company to its knees.
No, executive, no. That's why I said executive. There's somebody always ahead of the executive.
There is a linkage to that. There's a linkage to that. And that linkage is, you've hired someone who has come for the first time in 24 years or so, loses a game at Baba Yara, for the first time in the history of Ghana's football, fails to win a single match, plays against Niger, that does not play their national team matches at home, comes up against Sudan, a war-torn country, that did not have the opportunity of playing in front of their spectators. What it means, quote and unquote, was that those matches were played on neutral grounds. And guess what? 6 matches.
You are speaking as though you don't live here in Ghana.
Oh, God.
Let me tell you, this is a country where
I can understand your diplomacy.
No.
But in this instance, the point is that if you are playing...
I'm trying to help your cause for you. I'm trying to help your cause for you. This is a country where we go for a tournament, we come, they said that we formed a committee to investigate. Investigate what?
Investigate failure.
And then after the investigation...
And we'll fail again.
So after, look, so I don't want to use the word. Let the word stay here. But it's becoming one too many that a committee will be formed. Decisions will come out of that committee settings. And then we don't apply them. And then now you turn around to come and ask me, who has not been part of that any committee?
As
an individual, I'm saying that I would have resigned this position.
As a footballer.
But for him, it's up to him.
Played to the highest level.
Yeah.
It's just like sitting down with your very own maestro.
Yeah.
And maestro says from where he sits, Otto is not good enough. Let him go. That is a huge message that when the next executive council of the Ghana Football Association sits, they look at it and say,
this man.
This point, no.
Well, here, when the NPP MPs in Parliament, about close to 100 of them demonstrated that they wanted the finance minister to be sacked.
Yes.
Was he sacked?
Nanado said they...
No, I'm asking you.
No, he was not.
So if I, Augustine Ahimfor, sits here and say that Otto Addo should be sacked, and the executive council that's supposed to make the decision, do not make that decision, what becomes of it?
So why do you think Otto should stay?
No. It's just a question I'm asking you.
I rephrase the question to say, why should Otto stay? Why should the GFA allow him to stay after presenting a 56-page document to the Ghana Football Association?
Because I have not privy to what he presented. A journalist called me last week and said, because Otto, I said, Madam, you are speaking as though you were part of the meeting. Were you part of the executive council meeting? He said, no. So this thing that you want me to speak to, how? I'm not privy to whatever documentation I present. If
up next is World News.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to the Showbiz segment with me, Jacqueline and Suma Yabwa. To our first story, no features, no fees, and a fresh new flame. Ghanaian rapper Medical dropped some sizzling exclusive on his FM this morning with Andy Dusty. And as always, he didn't hold back from his music to his love life. Medical gave fans plenty to talk about. We have more in the following report.
First on the agenda, the Omwada hitmaker made a bold declaration. 2025 will be a feature-free year. That's right, Medical plans to focus solely on solo projects, so don't expect any collabs on his upcoming tracks.
Now, you're only doing a lot of features.
From next year like this, next year,
I don't go do features. Next year it will be a very selfish year for myself because this year I did a lot. I did like huge numbers of features, a couple of them.
Do you still charge?
Not really. Me, I really charge for feature.
That's what we heard.
I know they charge for feature. Unless maybe be somebody we want to offer something. But I know most of the guys will come up and approach me, and I never charge anybody a dime.
You know one feature I'll be waiting for?
Which one?
With Inoberoni. You know, you sat here and mentioned that she should reach out.
Yeah, she should though. She should. But it should be this year because next year I will do features. She should.
I thought you said next year you are doing more features.
No, next year I'm not.
No, he said next year.
I said this year.
This year.
Yeah.
So next year you're not going to do any feature. Why?
Next year I won't be selfish more.
On the personal side, the rapper confirmed he's dating again after his much publicized breakup with Fela Makafui. While he kept details of his new relationship under wraps, he seemed happy and ready to move forward.
Do you intend to, for real?
Oh, of course. I mean, Nipa, and the fact that what could be more. I know I'm constantly open and chest. I wouldn't even come with so yeah, of course.
Have you found someone? Have you found someone? No, it's not about the marriage. I'm asking whether. Okay, are you dating now?
Me currently, yeah. I have someone. I have peace now. Like I'm fixed. Just that I don't want to put like my love life and all those things out there.
But it looks like it's already out there.
Really? If it's out, then it's out.
Yeah, because you had mentioned earlier that your lifestyle there, I mean, yeah, it's like a movie, and people are busily watching. So it's a series.
So, no features, no charges, but plenty of love and focus for medical in 2025.
Well, it's a wrap for the Showbiz segment with me, Jacqueline and Samar Yabua. Over to you, MF.
Thank you so much, Jackie. It's quite my favorite segment on today, though. Yeah. I love it. And so what? Your rapper, medical. So he says that what? He's not doing any features.
No features for.
Even if it's from one of the persons that he says he admires so much.
Lil Wayne. Maybe there'll be a bat to that issue. Yeah, maybe there's a bat to every story.
But does he know we know who he's dating? Does he know we know? Should we tell him? But anyway, thank you so much. And thank you for joining us today on Joy News Today with me, MFA Akosia Adeti. There's so much news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. And today, I'm sure you'll find the biggest story as Akufo-Addo statue in Takoradi suffers partial damage amid controversy. And you see that big cut on his leg, sadly. But there's so much news on the portal, myjoyonline.com. Thank you for watching.